So welcome everyone. This is what I'd like to say, our first annual Enrollment Management Summit. Thank you all so much for coming. Give yourselves a hand for being present, because this actually signifies not only your commitment to really engaging your college communities, your departments, your areas with what it means for us to ensure that we have the program and services to capture all of our students and community that's going to be coming our way, but our shared understanding that it's all of our responsibility to not only approach all of these issues and challenges and opportunities to come. And so my name is Yashika Crawford. I'm Chief of Staff to the Chancellor. And on behalf of Chancellor Laguerre, who unfortunately is not able to be here, I bring you greetings, thank you, and welcome. I think it's going to be a wonderful, exciting day of learning. We certainly have a talented cast of persons that are helping to pull this day together. I want to give special appreciations to Tamika Brown, our Assistant Vice Chancellor for Enrollment Management, her team at Admissions and Records, my team here at Merit, Dr. Maria Lane Burns, and the staff here at Merit for allowing us to host the event here. And so without further ado, I'm going to bring up Tamika, who's going to share an overview of today's events. Thank you all so much for coming.
I want to also thank everyone for being here. This enrollment management is everybody's business. And as you know, we've been working hard over the last few months to really pull together some key components of enrollment management, and we have more work to do. But we've been working together collectively, and we are one as a district. And I thank everyone from the district as well as all of our 4 campuses for taking the time today to focus on this important initiative. And our overview of the day is we have some great data that's going to be presented to us from our management team, or one of our leadership management teams, on retention. We also have some data that's being presented that'll go into our district enrollment management plan from the RP group. We also have our keynote speaker, which we are excited to hear from, on enrollment management and student success. And then we will have VC Little speak about our BAM model and our allocations for 2017-18. We'll have some information from potential areas of growth, such as non-credit and dual enrollment. And we'll get some data from our partner, Oakland Unified School District, which we have close to 1,300 students that are duly enrolled this semester through Oakland Unified alone. And then we will have some opportunities for our district academic senate faculty leadership to talk about the role of faculty in enrollment management planning. And from there, we will hear from our consultant who is working with us to develop our district enrollment management plan, Kathy Hansen from San Diego Community College District. So I welcome you, and I'm going to turn it over now to Mark Beam and Drew Gerhardt. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Drew Gebhardt. I'm the International Services Manager here at the district, and I've been here for 10 years now. Time flies by, man. So this is my 10th year at Peralta. And myself and Denise Jackson, who is a faculty member teaching communications, have been a part of the Chancellor's Management Leadership Development Program, which I see a couple familiar faces out there, people who are part of the program. And we were tasked with doing a group project. And what our group decided to do was decided to come up with a project on retention and enrollment management. So members of our group were Dr. Sari Brown, Denise Jackson, Lisa Gwen Liego, Kevin Wade, Lawrence Van Hook, and myself. And our project title was Enrollment Management and Retention. And our project goals were to determine and assess best practices used by programs to support student retention, persistence, and graduation. And our objectives were to find out what factors lead to student retention and persistence. So we came up with a survey, and we received assistance from Samantha Kessler up here at Merritt College. And then we also used the Community College Survey of Student Engagement for ideas on our questions. And Denise actually did some work with her students. Would you like to share about that?
All right, so we tested the survey with my COM 45 course, public speaking, and the students gave us feedback. And I gave them incentive. I gave them some lint candy, so that was good. You always need to do that. And so the feedback was good. We changed a couple of the questions, and then I sent it back to Samantha, and then we were ready to go.
We also received support from our marketing department, Jeff Heyman and Faiz Ali. They created this flyer, and we were able to promote it to all of our students. And we did outreach days on each campus where we promoted the survey, and we had students fill in the survey in person as well. We had over 750 respondents in just 2 weeks for the survey. We also had focus groups on each campus, and I'm going to let Denise talk a little bit about those.
Okay, the focus groups were very, very informative. And our approach was looking at this through the lens of the students. And so some of the things that we came up with in terms of the themes were housing. It's very expensive to live here, so they had a good discussion on that and how that would prevent them from completing college. Not really being prepared in terms of what they learned from K through 12. And the discussion was really, really long on the fact that there aren't a lot of full-time faculty members. And so they were concerned that we have a lot of part-time faculty, and so the part-time faculty aren't available after class, or they're running from school to school. And so there was a big discussion on that. And in terms of improving, which will help you complete your program, better communication with instructors outside of the class, greater help from counselors on the next steps, definitely more tutors, and mandatory meetings with counselors, and providing extra credit to them for using some of the services. The positive outcomes: fantastic faculty, available services, the Office of Student Life, passion of the faculty, the community, students who are willing to help others, and cross-enrollment programs. And the overall negative: ambitious students can get ignored, and students can't log into Passport. So there were a lot of complaints about that. And I pulled these two quotes from students. I think that we have to give the students the opportunity and the leisure time to be able to explore more without being confronted with many systemic hindrances. Unfortunately, on the community college level, most students are met with. And then another student: I think, honestly, I do enjoy being a student here in the Peralta Community College, but I think as a whole, we do need to improve everything, even the services, because oftentimes when you look at a school, in a sense, it's a business. So in a sense, we need to find a balance so where we can provide good services and good education. And so students had a nice discussion, because the debate was about, well, do we want to handicap the students in a way, meaning you're helping them so much so when they transfer to a 4-year, they don't know how to function without that support. And then on the flip side, one student was saying, well, it's about education, the focus needs to be on the teaching. And then the student with this quote, he was really good, because he said, it's like a business, liken it to a business. So a restaurant in particular, you go into a restaurant and the food is good, but the service is bad. Or on the flip side, the service is good, but the food is bad. He said, I want both. I want good teaching, and I want good support and services. So that's just the analysis of the.
And then what we're also working on is collecting data from different programs within the district as well. And so we're going to be looking at best practices for EOPS, Puente, first-year experience. And then I'm going to share a couple of the best practices that we've been doing in our international students program. We also did a focus group, particularly with the international students. We had 10 different students that joined, and one of the major factors that said that would prevent them from continuing their studies were family issues back in their home country, financial issues, health, grades. For instance, if a student doesn't do well in their classes, then they might have to return back home. Lack of tutoring and assistance, and then also classes getting cut because of lack of enrollment. All of our international students are required to enroll in 12 units. And so if they don't meet that 12-unit requirement, we could be required to send them back to their home country and terminate them. So part of the reason why we work very hard to get our students into classes early on is because it's required by the Department of Homeland Security to do so. And then what services could be improved, which will help you complete your program. One they talked about was the tutoring service at Berkeley, and the need to pay for a writing workshop lab there. Peralta Student Passport seemed to be a common theme, enrolling in classes, and having accurate counseling, and then also services for emergency relief for students who are impacted by maybe natural disasters in their home countries. In regards to our international students right now, we have been growing in numbers, and these are the numbers of international students that are on F1 student visas, as well as other visa types. Could be students that are that have just transferred to a green card, or maybe they're a refugee, an asylee, or they're here on other non-immigrant visa types, like a tourist visa or a J1 au pair visa, where they are allowed to enroll in classes. So in regards to data with international students, I did a study that looked at the transfer rates of international students from 2007 to 2012, and what we found was that the highest percentage of students were transferring out after their first semester. Not a very good job for retention right there. Do all this work to recruit students, and then they leave after their first semester. And the second highest percentage was after their second semester. So we had to go, okay, what are we doing, and how can we improve our services to students? This last year in 2016, we found that it changed a little bit. The highest percentage of students actually transferred out after their fifth semester. And the fourth semester and the first semester were tied for second. And the average semesters that students were staying were actually longer as well. Whereas students were only staying an average of 3.9 semesters, now students were staying an average of 4.25. And if you look at the percentages of students transferring after their first semester, it dropped from 24% to 18%. And the number of students transferring after their fourth, fifth, or sixth semester improved from 30% to 46%. We also have had some great success rates last year, 2016. So we had 970 total. These are students who were here on F1 student visas. We had 970 students in 2015 and 16. 600 of those students have continued and are currently studying right now in 2016-17. 186 of those students transferred. 100% completed their program and are either working on optional practical training, which is an eligible which is a way that students can legally work in the U.S. after they complete their program. And then we had 80 students who either had to return home for family issues, or maybe they changed their status from a student visa to another type of visa, or maybe they were terminated or completed due to failure to enroll as well, which that happens. Some of our initiatives that we've been taking with the international students, back in 2013, we applied for a small grant to internationalize the campuses, and so we established international student clubs on each campus. We also started sending out newsletters, and we tried to enhance our communication with students. We developed a mobile app to send out push notifications to students throughout the semester on important dates and deadlines and activities and workshops that are going on campus, and when we have four-year universities coming to visit to speak with students. We also opened up campuses, or offices on each campus at Berkeley and College of Alameda. We have offices over there. Up here at Merritt College, Angela Koo is a trained international counselor. And then Laney College, the students are right across the street to our district office, which they can come over to. So we've created more access to the students. We've also been sending out surveys each semester to let the students' voices be heard. We've developed programs, leadership programs, and also we established an international student scholarship and developed an enrollment management strategy for 2016 through 2019. One more thing before Mark comes up. Mark is gonna, from the RP group, he's gonna come up and talk about the survey that we did with all of our students. But I want to throw in one extra plug. This is in regards to study abroad for our domestic students. And one of the data shows that students who participate in study abroad programs have higher retention rates because they're more included in the campus, they're more devoted and they show more of an interest in the college. And so this is some data that I received from Gary Rhodes, who's the Associate Dean down at CSU Dominguez Hills, and he also is the director of the Center for Global Education. But he's done some great research to show that retention rates are improved when our domestic students, local students, study abroad. And so we really want to help expand those study abroad opportunities for our local students as well. So Mark, do you want to come on up? Thank you for your time. And I don't know if we should do questions.
The question I had for the rest of the group was, you're sharing the experience with the international students, I'm assuming, is a way of kind of highlighting a success group. So my question is, what elements of that do you believe we could successfully carry over to our general population of students that would then help us increase the retention and the success and the persistence rates?
So particularly, I could speak on international students, is we do a lot of work, again, to try to recruit the students and come and get them to enroll. But if you don't support the students once they're here, then they're just going to leave and go to another college. They're going to transfer to another community college. So I think one is making sure that we're taking care of the students once they come and not just be satisfied with getting them into classes in the first semester. But I think for us, it's also just being available for the students. And I think that's the personal relationship. You know, these students are coming thousands of miles away, and they want to be heard. They want to know that they're not just here to, generate revenue for the district. That's not our goal. Our goal is here to help them to achieve their goals. And so one is we have our international student orientation. I didn't mention that, but we do a really great job of letting the students know that if there's anything that they need, if they're in any difficulty, if there's any problems that are going on at home, come and talk to us. And I think that's one of the messages that we can continue to talk to students about is, hey, we're here. We're here to talk to you. We're here to listen to you, whatever you're going through. And I think that will help our students. That was a big thing with the survey, was students just wanted their voices to be heard. And then Denise just mentioned to me, we're going to be doing best practices and data in other groups as well. So ELPS, Puente, FYI. We'll be collecting data for those students as well. Yeah.
So that part of the presentation is missing, so we're going to get that information out. And basically, we took data from EOPS, FYE, Puente, and the Summer Bridge program that I participated in here at Merritt, because we're trying to find out, okay, these programs are working, so what are they doing? And so once we get that data and give it to you, we're hoping that we'll use that to say, this is working, let's try and copy this and institutionalize it. That's the whole point of looking at those programs, because they're at least most of the colleges. I know FYE isn't at Laney, but it's coming. So that part, the best practices, is missing, but that information will be given out to you. And that's where the action part can come in.
So I just want to pose a question for us as a group. When we see that there are best practices in the groups that are shown on that slide, one variable that I see that is in common in all those groups is that it takes our bigger student population and it groups them into smaller, more manageable and touchable groups. And so the question I have for all of us as we look at enrollment management overall is, what can we do within our regular programming, not by student background, by student need, by student affinity group, but in general, in our academic pathways, what can we do to group so that we can get students in a space that we can then easily communicate and touch them, like the groups that were demonstrated before. So I think that's the bigger question. It's great to have these groups that are the smaller learning communities, affinity groups, but I think the big impact for us and the opportunity that exists is that what can you do in your own academic spaces to create that type of grouping so that we can reach students?
These programs target specific students, right? And so all we're saying is that we want to take what's working so that it is available, but we have to figure out how to do that, because it is working. Because in one of the focus groups, the students were like debating, well, I don't want to be forced to do FYE. I don't want to be forced to do this and that. Okay, if that's the case, well, how can we make this available to you in other ways? And I think that's really what you're talking about.
I want to say thank you to the people who developed and implemented this survey. There's some very good information here, but I also have to do the researcher's job and caution everyone from generalizing these findings to all of your students. Approximately how many students do you have district-wide in one semester? Is it more than 25,000? Right. And after the survey had about 750 some responses, so the response rate is rather low in order for us to generalize these findings to all students. It was also a volunteer survey. We didn't do a random sample. We didn't go out and statistically validate that these respondents represent your entire student body. So as we look at some of these results, I do want you to be cautious in trying to validate your own preconceived notions. A lot of findings in here might validate things that you already believe to be true, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the results represent the entire student body. Does everyone understand? All right. It's still very interesting. So, overall, some of the results of these surveys point to different services and places where students are favorable in response to this college, or excuse me, the district in all 4 colleges. So you can see figure 1, students' ratings of how much their college promotes items related to student support and success. And the top ones are using computers in academic work and encouraging collaboration with diverse peers. All of those things are highly rated. Towards the bottom, you'll see perhaps a pattern. The lowest rated ones were personal support for depression, personal support for anxiety, and helping you cope with family. This might be a pattern we see throughout the rest of the survey. There were volunteer responses there as well, some open-ended items, and you can see some of the things that students spend time volunteering as well as working for pay. And again, here was the answers to that question. Students spend a lot of time working for pay and providing care for dependents. They spend some time commuting to and from class, but not nearly as much. And they clearly did not spend a whole lot of time doing homework or studying for class. The next question shows students' level of agreement with helpfulness, and the top 3 were rated very highly, that instructors are helpful, instructors are available, and instructors are sympathetic. The next rating was administrative staff are helpful, with a slightly lower percentage of strongly agree. And finally, the lowest rating on this item was I feel like I belong with other students. So remember that conversation just before I got up here about what is it that works with certain groups and certain programs that might be translated over to the entire student body? There's work from the RP group on Student Support Redefined, which talks about connected, engaged, focused, directed, nurtured. Those are all the same kinds of things that I think these special programs provide for smaller groups of students. You're going to see some of that with this answer about, I feel like I belong. All right, so this is student responses to a question about how the college has helped them succeed. And the highest ratings were learning effectively on your own and thinking critically and analytically. And they also have several ratings for using computer and information technology and working effectively with others. But towards the bottom of those were contributing to the welfare of your community, speaking clearly and effectively, and acquiring job-related skills. Slight difference in the responses from this group. These were the services they used. So on the services used, it really did depend on which students. For example, the #1 service used was the bookstore and the library. Let me see if I can get those to show. Oops, they don't really show on this screen. And then after the library was the computer lab, then DSPS, and towards the bottom are some of those services for specialized populations. Veterans, child care, job placement assistance was low, and foster care was the lowest out of this group. As far as the awareness of those same set of services, students were very aware of the bookstore and the library, and also the bus transit pass program was very popular, as well as being, the students were very well aware of it. Their satisfaction of these same services is shown on the next item. Okay, and again, guess what? They love your library and the bookstore and the computer lab. Let me bring the scale down some. Thank you. Oh, perfect. My assistant, thank you. Okay, here's a question that was really quite interesting. This question was, how likely is it the following issues would cause you to withdraw? And the number one answer, I hope you can see that back there, is transfer. Give yourselves a hand. This is an excellent response. Okay? The rest of the list is rather negative reasons. And I had a conversation with Drew. Just a second, I'll get your question. I think perhaps this item is a little skewed. When you look at the rest of the reasons, there's things like I was mistreated, or I didn't have enough money, or I needed a job. And even though there's many different ways to say those things, they're all different reasons that someone probably wouldn't want to come back. And again, when we talk about nurtured, connected, focused, engaged, directed, they are opposites to perhaps being disrespected by anyone. Also, the issue of money is very important. Whether I need financial aid, money for housing, or I'm working part-time and I get a job that offers me full-time, they're all kind of economic issues. And so I think that even though there are many different ratings of items here, the one strong issue is economics. And you're going to see that come up again in other questions. Okay, now we had a question. Do you want to ask now? Oh, so the way I understood the survey to work, and from looking at your data, is students will see this question and interpret that to mean the college they attend the most. So even though, they may be a Berkeley City student, they're answering the question from their perception. Okay. So back there? Okay. There is a way to disaggregate these results by college, but with such a small group of responses from a volunteer set, I didn't think it would be useful because it even lowers the response rate. And there really weren't great differences between the colleges. Is that okay? So the next item real quickly is indicate which of the following are your reasons or goals for attending this college. And you can see again, you have a strong transfer cohort within the respondents of this survey. But there's also almost a larger group that are here for self-improvement or personal enjoyment. And I think that the age difference in those two responses is going to be important. What I believe is that the younger students, age 16 to 24, are going to be in that top group. And I also believe students 35 to 64 are going to be in the second group. You also have the bottom three, all are job related. And there's another group of students here that are specifically here to advance their careers. Go down. When do you plan to take college? Oh wait, source of income. This was interesting. About half of the students use some form of their own income to pay for tuition in college. But they also have many other sources, including financial aid and family. Next. So when do you plan to take classes again? About 75% plan to return. 65% plan to return the very next semester, and another 10% said they would come back at some point, probably within the next year. So that leaves us 25% of students who aren't really sure they're coming back. And you can see some said they have no plan to return. It's a very small percentage from this survey, though. Okay, and then the rest of the information was demographic. Thank you, that's a perfect place to stop. It was about age group, gender, which college, whether or not their parents went to a college. It helps us match the representativeness of the respondents to your total student population. This group was skewed a little bit more female and a lot more of morning class time takers, and I don't know if that skews the entire results or not. But this one question is the most important one. It'll be the last one about our survey today. And from you results, you can see, how would you evaluate your entire educational experience at this college? And you can see 28% and 49%, or almost 75% of all students, give good or excellent to their experience. This is very good news for you. But I would also spend some time looking at the small percentage that said fair and poor, and try to pull out their answers for any kind of ideas of where you might improve. Sure, so try to repeat your comment for the recording, I think you're asking, what are the logistics and ways that we can improve our survey response rates? And are online surveys efficient or effective? I would say there are mixed methods we use sometimes to increase response rates. Online only has its limitations, but you can certainly do a wide survey of a random sample of students to draw much more representative conclusions. And so I think it's doable. It would be a choice of you and your budget and time. Sure, I think that's why the CESI, the Community College Study of Student Engagement, is done in classroom, because they almost compel you to respond. So let's move on to the second piece of my work for you. I took some maybe 9 or 10 years worth of student enrollment data from your business intelligence, and I provided some data tables to help inform your discussion today. So beginning with, let's just go past the summary to the tables. Yeah. So basically number one, and I doubt if this is a surprise, but if we look at your student head count for the last 9 years or so, you can see that you had a peak in 2009-10 of over 47,000 students served within the district in one academic year. You're nearly 10,000 students less at this time in this current academic year. Now, the current academic year is not over, but I'm guessing you're not going to enroll another 9,300 students between now and June. So that's part of our story, is what has happened. Why are there so many fewer students attending this district? The next graph will help us understand some of the demographics. So just go up a bit, yeah. So first is just the age groups. And if you'll notice the shading, the two columns of 16, 18, and 19 to 24, scroll down just a little bit, you see the percentages. That's the distribution within the student body is actually increasing. At the same time, that students 35 to 64 are decreasing. Now I'm going to walk over to the slide and kind of show. I'm not sure, but I'm wondering if that represents a shift in your curriculum or a deliberate focus of offering perhaps more transfer-based curriculum and perhaps less of the lifelong learning. So repeatability would reduce the number of students taking those classes they're ineligible for. Perhaps some of the older students who had repeated, I don't know if it was ceramics, but who had taken it 3 or 4 times can't return or chose not to return. That might explain some of this shift in your age group demographics. The next chart is just gender. There's not been any changes. Your college enrolls pretty much 56% female every semester. Next. And if it pops up, ethnicity. There's a slight shift, not a major shift. There are fewer African American students and more Latino or Hispanic students. And that's probably a reflection of the demographics of the cities you serve. Okay, next slide. So now we're talking about financial aid. And this bothered me a little, and I need your help to know if this is accurate. But it looks like the percent of eligible students for BOG fee waivers has dropped dramatically in the last 2 years. And I think that's kind of an important thing that you might investigate. There's a lot of students in your district who are low income and probably would need this to attend. And so I'm not sure what's happening there. No, not that I know of. All right. So then let's go to the next page, Tamika. And just right there on the text, let's go up. Right, oh, that's good, yeah. So I've noticed an exponential growth in your distance education. And I'm not really sure because I'm new to this district, but it looks like you started offering distance ed courses in around 2009. And what's happened is an exponential number of students signing up for distance ed each semester. So right now, this is the total number or percentage of students participating, and it looks like you've gone from 5% to 30%. 30% of your students right now take at least one or more distance ed courses. The next two slides let us look at the percent of taking distance ed for the first time. And you can see kind of an exponential curve. 2,300 were in that first semester, and then it looks like an increasing number each year jump into the pool. That's of all students. If we go down one more to table 8, you're going to see the percent of students that live outside the district. Whoops, just a little higher, right there. These are students that live outside of the major cities you serve. It's about 30% of your student population right now, and those students are attending distance education rapidly. Actually, a little higher rate than the students who live close to you. Okay. I have just a couple more quick slides to share. We are working on, but not yet complete, with calculating the adult participation rates by zip code. From my understanding, your 4 colleges serve 4 or 5 cities for the primary number of students that attend. And then there's this circle of adjacent cities, actually all across California, and even a few out of the country who attend your district. And I'm not talking about the F1 visas, I'm talking about their zip codes. And so based on the zip codes, 70% of your student body lives really close to your campuses. We're going to calculate the participation rate by zip code and college so that you could actually find out where your penetration is good and where you could market more heavily to recruit. It's not quite done, but I want to show you that that work is in process. We're also working on the high school capture rates. And this is a good slide to end on. So the high school capture rates are the graduating class from each one of your feeder high schools and the number or percent that attend any one of your 4 colleges. It's a rather straightforward calculation. We get the data from the Public Department of Ed website on the graduating class, and then we take your internal student data and we look at the high school grad dates, the age, and the high school of origin to see the numerator. So how many students came the fall term immediately after graduation? Now, my analyst sent me work this morning that he's nearly done with it, but I haven't proofed it, so I can't show it to you yet. We will provide that, and I think that'll be a fascinating conversation. But the last piece is this. of all the post-secondary institutions that are nearby or adjacent and serve the similar age groups that you do, this is the beginning of building out that table. We're going to have to go to the websites for those that are blank because they haven't reported their data to the IPEDS or the Federal National Data Collection. But once we complete this table, you'll be able to see what percent of college attending adults your district represents. And right now it looks like it's going to be about 25%. So that's pretty strong to say to your community that 1 out of 4 college attending adults is at the Peralta district, with all of these other choices, including CSUs and UCs. But what that also will tell you is where you might want to market and look at the types of awards you provide compared to the marketplace. Does that make sense? So at this point, I'm going to stop.
I want to thank Mark and the RP group, and we will continue our conversation, and I will provide you with final documentation of all of this information so that we can have these conversations as well at our campuses to look at how we can leverage and strategize as we move forward. I also want to provide an opportunity for our college president at Merit, our interim president, to come up and say welcomes. Is Dr. She had to step out, so we'll get her in just a minute. But I'd like to bring up Dr. Herb Kitchen and Anita Black to talk about our history of Umoja in this district.
Welcome to Merit College. Turn around, look at that view. We see that every day here. So again, welcome to Merit. As Ms. Brown mentioned, my name is Herb Kitchen. I'm the Interim Director of Student Activities and Campus Life here at Merit. And my role this morning is to talk about enrollment management and how our group is trying to make that happen. Currently, I'm the president of the Peralta Association of African-American Affairs. This organization has been at Peralta for over 40-some years now. I'm gonna drop some names. Names like, who knows Wise Allen? George Herring. Anita Black, she's a part of that group also. Vicki Reedus. So these are some folk who were at the foreground at Peralta in the mid-'70s trying to make inroads for African-American students, staff, faculty, and administrators. It came to be because that group needed support here at Peralta. They needed support, they needed encouragement, and they also needed to be engaged with the colleges where they worked. Now, for some time, our group has been trying to get programs specifically for students of color. We worked with every administration for the past 6 or 7 years, going to the board, telling them that we need services for these populations. No one heard us except for our current chancellor. He got it. We spoke to him about the needs of the achievement gap, not only here at Peralta, but around this state and around this nation. He saw that there should be a need to have programs for African American students that would encourage them, engage them, support them, and service them while they're here at Peralta. About a year or so ago, he put his money where his mouth is. He funded all 4 colleges to have such programs on their campuses. So with that, we have the funding there to help serve these populations. So right now, I'm going to lend it over to one of my colleagues and mentors, Anita Black. Anita will come up and share what PA has done on a local, statewide, and national level. And also, my colleague and friend Deborah Jacks will come and she will speak about what's happening here at Merritt College. We have a program called the Sankofa program that she's the coordinator of, and she will give you insights on how we're doing it here at Merritt to help support and serve our students of color. Thank you, and now I give you my colleague and mentor, Anita Black.
Good morning, everybody. Just to put it in perspective just a little, and I'm kind of coming after, but I think it's okay. Pa played a pivotal role in the creation of what is known as the National Council of African-American Affairs, which is the first affiliate of the American Association of Community Colleges. And that was founded in 1972. There were a couple more, maybe 3 more that I can remember within the Peralta system that also played very key roles in the development of this national organization that Pa became the first chapter of. That was Odell Johnson, who rehired me at Laney. Don Godbold, who first hired me in the district in 1977, and then John Green, that used to be president up here at Merritt College. One of the key goals and missions of the National Council of African American Affairs, aside from faculty and staff, but key is the students. And that's where Pa came into fruition in terms of seeking out prior administrations and helping us with things that we knew our students were not being successful at, and closing that achievement gap. The reason why our current chancellor got it is simply because our current chancellor also came up through the rank and file President's Roundtable, which is an offshoot of the National Council of African American Affairs, and most African American presidents throughout the nation belong to. That was an offshoot of the national organization. So he understood that when our stats were the worst in the entire state, I don't mean just Peralta, but I mean African American students, and that that paralleled nationally as well. So part of that commitment on his part with giving us seed money to start the program was the fact that the state also got it and put money behind the Umoja Program to answer the call in helping our students succeed. So Pa's role is to be the oversight of the development of the Umoja programs on each of the campuses to make sure that we get it and our students are being served. So I think that's a sufficient amount of history on my part, and I'll turn it over to Deborah, who is now our coordinator of our Umoja program here at Merritt College.
Good morning, everyone. And as Herb said, you gotta like this. It's nice to work at Merritt College. So I've been back at Merritt for all of 4 weeks. At the end of the calendar year of 2015, I retired after 37 years of service here at Merritt College in student services. And after a round of conversations with the president and my colleagues here at Merritt, I was blessed to be able to return and to work on a program that I'm extremely passionate about. I didn't want to leave in the first place. I never wanted to retire. It was my tax guy who said, "You're at the point in your career, Deborah, where you're not earning any more money. And as a matter of fact, you're losing money." And I said, "Do we have the right Social Security number here?" And he said, "Absolutely." He said, "Get off of payroll and come back another way." And so what a wonderful set of circumstances to have. However, Sankofa program at Merritt College has a tremendous amount of commitment from faculty and staff. There are a group of people who meet on a weekly basis, and they're called the Advisory Committee, and the passion that they come with and the excitement that they come with is a common thread, and that is to support our students, to increase the retention rate and the transfer rate, but it doesn't stop there. It also is designed to meet their day-to-day needs as best as we possibly can. And they come daily to the Sankofa office with very unique circumstances, and we try our very best to meet those needs. I just completed the March calendar for the Sankofa program, and some of the activities that are included in that program are a meet, greet, and eat, and that will go on each and every month with our students. It gives us an opportunity to come together collectively and as a college community to talk to them about what's going on with you personally. How's the semester flowing for you? Are you experiencing any roadblocks, and is there anything that we can assist you with? And it also gives us an opportunity to update them on what's happening here at Merritt College that they should be engaged in, and to take advantage of the support services that are designed to help them to be successful in their college career. Some other activities that are planned for this month, and that will continue to be planned throughout the balance of the semester, is the scholarships that are currently out, the Faculty Senate scholarships, the ASMC, Associated Students of Merit College scholarships, and there will be multiple scholarship workshops to make sure that our students understand the process and that they complete the scholarships in a timely manner, and hopefully some of them will be recipients. And then there's other workshops on taking advantage of the campus resources, as I mentioned before. The Village, the advisory committee for the Sankofa program, is very excited, as am I, about what we're planning for the summer, which is a College Summer Success Institute, CSSI, and it's an opportunity where we invite high school graduates to Merritt College, and for 8 days, 8 incredibly interesting and supportive and exciting days, we will take them through all of the processes that they need to go through to enroll at Merritt College for the fall semester of 2017 and ultimately become enrolled in the Sankofa program. So we're very, very excited about that. We're putting that program on a timeline right now as it relates to recruitment and outreach, and what each day will include for our students in terms of their itinerary. So some very exciting things are occurring for our Sankofa program here at Merritt College, and we're looking for some outstanding outcomes as we complete the fiscal year. Any questions? Thank you.
Before we take a break and come back for our keynote speaker, I did want to highlight, and it should be on some of your tables, and it's at the SignIn Table out there, some of the successes that the Office of Enrollment Management have had, and that is because of our wonderful staff, our analysts that have been working very hard behind the scenes to improve the application process and enrollment process for our students. Our students now will receive a returning email or letter when they are returning students to tell them next steps on how to enroll. We also have our 3 C's campaign, which sent letters out to students who had applied but never enrolled to encourage the next steps toward enrollment. And we've also had successful opportunity to have a district-wide outreach calendar for our outreach teams at the campuses to put events on this calendar, see what's happening, confirm events for our high school service areas and our community events as well. And so this has been the hard work of our staff. They've also been very active in trying to get application errors up front before students notice them, so that students' applications have a seamless process and a smooth process. And they've also been very responsive to our students and transcripts and all type of services that they would need to move on to four-year institutions. So can we please give our staff a hand at the district and at our colleges as well. I also want to thank our vice presidents of instruction and student services who have been working with me at the district to strategize and talk about enrollment issues and make this an important topic at each and every one of our campuses and district-wide. It's been a wonderful opportunity for us to bring all of our good thoughts together and implement some things. And I've also been working with our SSSP working group. Our next major project is to tackle SARS and PeopleSoft. So we will get there, and I want to thank IT for working with us on this next major initiative as well. Thank you. So we're going to take a 10-minute break and come back and have our keynote speaker. Thank you.